Greetings, my name is Dwayne, and I'm going to show you how I make my gnome holiday ornaments. I've made and sold hundreds of these over the last couple of years, and it's just off of a simple pattern. So I'm going to give you the dimensions, show you what I use to cut out. And for these, I'm using a sweater. It's an idea of an old sweater that you're repurposing, but you can also use felt. You can use any material. I've used fleece with them before. As I said, different types of fabric. I love the old sweaters though. I love the way you get texture in there and everything. So I'm going to show you how to do that with the different materials, but let's concentrate on the sweaters here. My basic pattern is just simply almost like a gnome cutout body there. It's a 3.5 inches across the bottom there, the base. And then I do 4.5 inches up and 4 3/4 on the side. Now, it can be longer if you'd like, but this gives me just a good look to it, a good size that I come out with. And what I'm using underneath are just plastic ornaments. These are ornaments that are unbreakable ornaments that I'm not using the glass or anything. I've picked up a lot of these at the Dollar Tree. You can get them. They have the tubes here. You get a dozen of them in there, so it's easy to make, but you can also pick them up at any almost any place. Myers, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, anybody else is going to carry. It's a pretty standard ball, and that's what I use as my backing underneath for my ornament. So I'm going to show you how I put that together, how I cut it out and everything. The beard, almost all this material too, the beard, the hat and everything is repurposed material. It's stuff that's left over, a lot of it. So it's really nothing much to it. I'll show you too what I use for the fur there. Now, with my pattern there, I'm just going to grab the sweater that I've been using, and I used the one side of it already. But we're going to put it out here and show you. Normally what I'll do too is use my angle, but with this I don't need to do it because it's so small, and also I don't mind coming down to a point in the back, so that's okay with that. So I'm just going to take my sweater, fold it over because I want to fold and place it on there. As I said, I don't have to do my fold the inch there. If I want to get the bottom part, I can do it just more of a straight on there. Let me find my handy scissors. And I'm cutting up 4.5 inches. Now you can make it a little bit longer, and to do a fold over one, which I'll show you in a little bit here too, I would make it just a little bit longer. So here I have just my basic shape. As I said, I'm doing 3.5 inches along the bottom here and 4.5 inches up. At the top, I try to make it more of a rounded at the top rather than coming to a point, and I'll show you why in just one moment. So let me set that aside. Now, this can either be sewn or hot glued. Anything I do, I try to show you that you can do them both ways. You have the inside here, and this has been a concern I got a lot of questions about the fraying. Number one, I try to use a good heavy sweater. I have used others that are more lightweight, and we'll show you how to take care of that too. But I've turned it inside out. And what I do is I sew up the sides. So I sew up the side there, and I do about a 1/4 inch in. If I'm doing with a hot glue gun, see I do have frays there. I'm just going to snip off. We're going to glue them down. So I fold it over. So I have my outside on here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a ribbon, or I'm going to take some sort of yarn, or I love to use, I got my trusty little string here that I use. I tie it in a double knot at the top to hold it. Now with the hot glue, I don't have to tie a double knot. But when I'm doing just my sewing, I do tie it as a double knot. And then I'm going to set that right in the center there of my fold. So when I fold that over, I'm going to have that tucked right in there. When I'm sewing, I can just sew right up to it. When I'm doing the hot glue gun, again, I'm just putting it in the center. And again, that's why I'm rounding the top a little bit, so I know where to place that. I can take my glue gun and glue that down, and then glue along my seam. And this is where it's going to help to keep it from fraying, is because I've put my glue in there. Now, with that laying down, I'm going to fold that over. And that's going to give me my hat shape there. Now, if you're sewing, let me see if I can find one here that I've done where I'm sewing here. There we go. Did the same type of thing here. I put that down, then I sewed up. Then with my needle and thread, all I do is poke it through there about 2 or 3 times. Just wanting to keep my string there tight. So we have this covered. So either way, I've glued it or I've sewed it, and you can use the string to help pull it through. There I've made my basic hat. Turn it inside out, pull it through. Because I glued it, it's stuck there. And as I said, I don't mind having a little bit more of a curve in the back. Now, again, we're talking about the fraying here. I've been asked several questions. Well, how do you keep it from that? I'm going to pick my ball, and which, again, I'm using ornaments that are 2-inch in diameter. It's going to sit right on top of there. Now, before I do that, I'm going to make my beard. My beard I cut out 3 inches in length and 2 inches in the height there. Now you can cut out in a length, more height if you want. If you want a longer beard, something that's going to come down farther, do that. And again, I'm just using scraps, using stuff that I usually have left over, and I'm going to be cutting that out just to show you here. So I'm going to go over about 3 inches. And here's where you decide too how much of a curve you want. You can come down and make it more of a pointed beard. I like to keep mine just curved just a little bit on the bottom there. So I'm just cutting the backing. I'm not cutting into the front, and I'm just curving it up a little bit. Just to give you an idea how to make the beard. Pull that off. Get any loose fur out of there. And so I have about 3 inches across the back there, about 2 inches down to make my beard. I'm going to take my 2-inch ball, and I'm just going to glue it. And it should come pretty much to the seam of that on each side of the ornament. And it's about 1/2 inch down where you have the hook there. And I'm just gluing. Gluing the beard on, and you can glue it all at once if you want, or I like to do one side, then do another. And so there I have my gnome beard. My hat that I just made is just going to come down and sit right on top of there. Now, what I'll normally do too is I'll put some polyfill in my hat, so I've got it filled out up top. Give it some more stability there. We put that together. Then I just glue along the top. And I'll usually do a front side first on this hat. Put my hat on there. Put my seam in the back. And again, if I've cut it so it's more of an angle, it's going to come down a little bit farther there. And then once again, I'm going to glue just glue along my back here. Now the hot glue there will help, again, to keep from the fraying. But the other part I do to help is I'm going to be adding the fringe around here. So for those who are concerned still that you got the there, we're going to actually put glue right over top of that to put our fringe on there. And for anybody that's seen my stuff or knows that, what I use, it's a yarn that I've gotten from Hobby Lobby. I've used it several times. I love the different colors. It's from Yarn Bee, Eternal Bliss. I have all different colors that I can use. I have browns, grays, whites. I even have greens and blues. So I just pick out a color that I want to go along with this. I'm just going to use white just to accent it more here. And I'll start in the back. And where the seam is, I like to cover my seams as much as possible too, and also where I have that where I was cut. And again, we were worried about the fraying there a little bit, but we cover that up with the glue, and I'll run that along there. And here again, I'm just running right along the edge of the hat. So we add a nice trim to it and keep it from fraying. Get around to the back side here. And we'll pull out the scissors. Trim it there. And there we have our look here. Now I've done the same thing, just do it with the top too. Just take your yarn that you have and just run a circle right around the top there. And then what I like to do is I use the wood balls. The round balls, I get these at Hobby Lobby. I've seen people order them online. There's several different places too. You can get either the knob ones that are flat on one side, or you can get the round ones. I've always used the round ones basically because the flat ones, I did it one time, I bought them, and the top part, I didn't have a good surface to use to show. So I like to have something that I can, is consistent. So I stick with the same thing most of the time here. And I'm just going to go with, in the center, add a little bit of glue on there. So I'm looking for about the center of my gnome there. And what I like to do is just roll it just a little bit because I like to have it bend up that fluff just a little bit, but it also gives it a couple touch points. I like it where the glue actually glues to a couple different things if possible, so it holds better. I'm not just gluing it to the beard, I'm gluing it to the fluff up top there too, so I got it held in place there. Now, we got a perfectly good ornament here. We can also add embellishments too. This is a great thing that I've done in the past where I'll take something and again pick up little things that I can just add some character to it. See which I like to add some little things onto it. You can do that. You can use, like I said, a felt if you want to do it with more of a felt type hat, and then add the embellishments any way you want. But that's the main thing, is getting the yarn on there, showing that off there. And we had a lot of people asking about the backing, and I just use, again, just the 2-inch ornament on that. The other thing that I use, and I sold a lot of these over the years here too, is pine cones. I love the look of the pine cones. I've made these on several occasions too, where I'll make a pine cone gnome, and I'm doing the exact same hat. I'm just doing, cutting it out, making it, and the pine cones that you can either buy these in the stores too, or I go out looking actually for trees and I find them, and I put them in the refrigerator, the freezer, actually, put them in the freezer for about a week. I'll clean them up, brush them off, then put them in the freezer for about a week if I've gotten them from outside, just because I want to make sure that there's no bugs or anything in them. So once again, I'm going to just take the hat, take some stuffing, put it up in there. Again, I can see some fraying going on, but we'll glue that down. Now this may require just a little bit more stuffing because the ball goes up farther than this would. And I'm just going to glue that in there. And actually, I'm just going to apply a generous amount of glue to the top of my pine cone there. And these are the ways I make my holiday ornaments. I'm going to put it on there. Now I would select a trim, just like I did with the other one. Just select a trim, put it on there. And then, once again, I'm just going to apply one of my wood beads to the center of it there, just to make a pine cone gnome. Glue it on once I get the trim on there, but I just wanted to show you how to do that. The other thing I wanted to show too is, since we're doing a lot of different ornaments, trying to show you different styles, and I've seen other people do this thing, the same type of ornament here, but they do it with a hat that bends over. And if you see a lot of my gnomes that I do, the larger gnomes, I like the hats that bend over. And with that, I'm not putting the string in. I'm actually just doing the same cutout, the same pattern, cutting it out, sewing it together, turning it inside out, and then adding just a little bit of stuffing, not as much stuffing, just some to the bottom here. I'm not pushing it all the way up to the top there. And then I'll take one of my balls here that I've already got the beard glued onto it, and I'll stick that on there. Now with that, you can actually go higher than the 4.5 inches. If you want to make it 5.5 inches, it'll give you more of a tilt to it. So I'm going to glue this down here. Again, just giving you more options, giving you ideas of different ways you can put together the same hat. I mean, I'm using the same pattern all the time, over and over again, but I'm trying to find different creative ways, different looks for it too. And so I'm going to keep this as an ornament. And as I said, I put my seam to the side because I like covering up my seams. We're going to glue that on down. And then It's going to fold to the side here. What I can do is I can put my fluff on here now. Let's pick out, I'll just use a brown for contrast here. And we'll apply that. I meant to, before I started, to get out some of my bells and some of my other holiday stuff too, because that looks great too if you put a little bell on top there. Just a cute idea. It's also, if you don't have the wood balls for the noses, Pom Poms work great. Or even if you take just a small piece of this, if you have this yarn and just cut off a little small piece, you can put that on with the nose if you're doing like a different color trim. I like the more natural colors, so I try to stick with natural color. But you can do almost anything. If you have a regular way that you do noses, that's great too. I just like the character that it gives to that. And as I said, I use the 3/4 inch. If you want to use the 1 inch or different size, you can do that too. That gives it more character to it too. Just trying to come up with different ways. When I'm displaying them, and I used to have them in a lot of different stores that I was being into, markets, I would try to come up with different ways just so people had some variety to choose from. So I'm gluing that down. This is where this is going to come to the side. I'm going to run some glue along my seam. Fold that over. Hold it down for a moment. Now this is where I would put like a pom-pom at the very end, or a bell. Something just a little bit different, a little unique, something that stands out a little bit more from the fur, since I've already got the fur lining there. So I'm going to do that. Now the next trick though is to have a hanger for it, because I didn't put a hanger through because I knew where it was coming out here. So here's where I'm actually going to have to sew something through the top of it. And what I've done in the past is I pick out an embroidery needle. And I say an embroidery needle because it's got a thicker eye to it. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's got the eye wide open. So if I pick a ribbon, I can use a wider ribbon and thread my needle with that. And going to use probably about 8 to 10 inches for that. Cut my ribbon off. And I'm just going to poke it right through the top there. And again, it depends on how long you want your ornament to hang. You may not want quite that length. We can cut it down too. But I'm going to put it on there, tie it off. The difference is here I got the tie on the outside, which again I can put something else over top of it to cover it up, but it's fine. So I'm going to tie that off with like a double knot, maybe even a triple knot to hold it. Hold it tight there. I can get it through with my fingers. That was another thing I was going to mention too, that I do a lot of the gluing stuff too to show, because I know I have a lot of people that tell me they have the rheumatoid arthritis, or it's hard working with their hands. That's why I like to show the gluing too, because my wife has rheumatoid arthritis, and to try to tie off stuff like that, I usually have to do that for her. So I've added a ribbon to the top. Just put that right through there. Let's give this little guy a nose here before we get finished up here. And again, just trying to show you a little variety of different ways different ornaments we can make with using the same pattern. And I put that on there, roll it on. And finding an old sweater, if you have something that you're going to be giving away to Goodwill, anything with a little bit of character, color to it looks great. As I said, you can also use fleece. You have leftover material. I have some leftover red checkered fleece that I love to use that in my ornaments too. I've tried some other different, fleeces too, so the fleece comes out looking okay. But the more character just looks great to go with your ornaments there. So that's how I make my holiday ornaments. Just want to run that through everything and let you guys see. And again, I would add some embellishments to this, give them some more character just for fun. They're quick, easy projects. You could sit down with a couple people and do them. And they're things that really go quickly too. If you have craft sales, or if you have a craft show, a mall, someplace that you're putting your characters, your gnomes characters in and your crafts, these go real well. They've gone great for me for the holiday season. I love to see, again, what you guys do, the different crafts you can make with them, the different things that, using the same simple pattern, we can come up with different looks for all of their different gnomes and what you can embellish and do and make them look great there. So thank you, and I hope that helps. Have a great holiday season.